Shane Arden.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, it's been interesting to listen to the debate from the other side of the House on the Crown Pastoral Land Rent for Pastoral Leases Amendment Bill. And certainly we have seen the true colours of the Labor Party in this debate. They do not like farming profits. They are opposed to any type of agricultural profit. The word agriculture annoys them, and the word profit sends them into a complete tailspin. They cannot stand it. And, Mr Speaker, that is all the difference is. What we had here under the previous 9 years of a Labor government were a group of very unique people in the world, actually, because of where they live and how they derive their income, trying to eke out a living in a very inhospitable area, sometimes not achieving that very well, and a government that wanted to run them off the land. Well, let's have a look at the previous government's track record in being custodians of this high country that they see as iconic and worth millions of dollars, and therefore shouldn't be allowed to be managed in the way that this bill proposes. Let's just have a look at what they've been like as custodians themselves. Because you see, the Clark government went out and spent millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, buying up high country lease and other freehold high country land to include in the high country or in the conservation estate. The conservation estate in the South Island, Mr Speaker, currently occupies more than 50%, most people don't realise this, more than 50% of the total land area in the South Island is in the conservation estate. And you need to go and look at some of it. Some of the most beautiful land, some of the most iconic land, and it's a disgrace. It is a disgrace, the way that the state, under the Labor government of 9 years, has allowed that land to deteriorate, erode, be covered in weeds, pests. The state have become the neighbours from hell in some cases because of the way that the previous Labor government valued that ownership. So what we have here is we have a group of individuals scattered across the South Island that over a long period of time have established a property right, a lease with the Crown, have actually managed that land in a way that is sustainable, a word that the Labor Party used to use in every speech they gave, sustainable and sustainability. That land is being managed in a sustainable way. The weeds are being controlled, the pests are being controlled, the landscape is enhanced, there is a productive outcome for the nation, they do pay taxes, there is an export earning at the end of it. But no, the Labor Party can't stand that. They can't stand it. It's Crown land. It's Crown land. Therefore, the Crown should have total control, and presumably they're going to send some bureaucrat from Wellington to manage it, which is what they do, of course, which is exactly what they do with the conservation estate. That's exactly what they do with the conservation estate. And you look at what is happening in that regard. I mean, the example of public access is one that always sets me alight. When the Crown bought some of these iconic, as they describe them, high country stations, paid 4 times the value that a sheep farm would pay for it, that a sheep farmer would pay, paid 4 times the value for it. When they got control of it and put it into the conservation estate, they locked the gate and they wouldn't allow public access. Public access, in one case, that had been open and allowed by the private owners for over 100 years. And the state got control and locked it up, and no one was allowed public access. So just come back to the bill at hand, Mr Speaker. What we are proposing here as a step forward, a substantial step forward, is to bring some certainty to those high country farmers as regard to what their commitment to the state is, go back and honour the intent of the original legislation that was passed under National but endorsed by Labor, because they didn't change it. They didn't step in and change that legislation, and bring some certainty in terms of what the costs are. Now, I heard a couple of speakers over there say, what happens What happens if one of these stations comes on the market and it's sold to some foreign investor who is a multi-millionaire or billionaire or whatever the case may be, and the lessee captures a higher amount of the value than what the state deems should be the amount that they should capture? Well, if that is the case, if that is the case, under this bill, they will actually have to pay a percentage to the state. That's what the bill says. Mr. Parker, who says he's a lawyer, should I be able to understand that? They will have to pay a predetermined percentage to the state. So the only debate is that percentage high enough? And of course, in Labor's eyes, unless it's 100%, it's never enough. And even if it was 100%, because these guys are billionaires or whatever they are, that won't be enough. Then we should find another way to get at them. Mr. Parker, the state cannot run the whole of New Zealand. And in countries where they have tried, they have failed. So welcome to the real world. We do want people to farm this land. We do want people to maintain the condition of it, to prevent erosion, to control weeds, to control pests. And the state is not doing a good job in that regard in the substantial estate that it already has control over. So what is the compromise? Because from that side of the House there is none. No compromise. State ownership or nothing. No profits. If you want to live there, that's your choice, but we're going to ever allow you to make a profit. That is exactly the position. That is exactly the position some of these people found themselves in. And so I say to the other side of the House, well, look, the Honourable Damien O'Connor will have his moment in the Select Committee. The bill tonight has been moved to go to the Primary Production Select Committee. I'll value his input there. It's generally sound. It will be interesting to listen to the submissions. It will be interesting to hear the state side of the argument. It will be interesting to hear that. And it will be interesting to see what happened under the 9 years of Labor, how this whole thing became an absolute mess and was going backwards, and there was no forward progress. So those submissions, no doubt, will come forward. I welcome them. I look forward to that, and we have no choice but to look at an alternative to what the status quo currently delivers, because that has been a failure. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the passage of this bill through the Select Committee and back to the House.